At Western Washington University, thousands of students are handed a diploma each year to signify their completion of earning a degree. After at least 16 years of going to school Monday to Friday, the journey has ended. But as one journey ends, the next begins. I asked Western professors and alums what their advice would be for soon-to-be graduates as they embark on the journey of finding a job and starting their careers.
My name is Jim Sterk. I'm the Director of Athletics here. Started in July after being an alum. Lived around the country and started back here once the position opened.
My name is Greg Williamson. I teach jazz drum set and percussion. I'm involved in a couple different things in the jazz department and drum set and also some general percussion.
My name is Ezra Anisman. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm an instructor at Western, and I work in Fairhaven and also the theater department, doing things with audio recording and sound design and really anything in that kind of area.
A job right out of college, but I ran the in-school suspension at a school and was the head baseball coach and assistant football coach, and then the next year went down to Medford, Oregon, and was a teacher there. And the coaching side of things, the extracurricular activities, intramurals and sports, allowed me to get in the door and interview for the job.
And then I entered the professional world and played out of Los Angeles for a little bit. I was on the road with the Glenn Miller Orchestra and Woody Herman's Thundering Herd and a Harry James Orchestra, so those are all big bands. And I played drums and traveled all around the world. And then moved back to LA and then back to Seattle, where I started working with Ernestine Anderson, who's kind of a jazz legend singer, and we did Blue Note clubs in Tokyo and all over Japan and Europe and Brazil and quite a bit in South America, actually.
A lot was going on, but I eventually got a delivery driver job, and I was in a band, so I still got to connect to music and do a lot of the things I was doing. And I do I did a show with the circus, as one does, and some community theater shows. So I was still doing some work, and then I eventually got a job more in my field in Blaine. And so I had about a year and a half of being out of school, and then I got into grad school because I knew that was the next step that made sense for me, because I knew I really wanted to teach.
Actually, Paul Madison, who's here, he was the sports information director when I was here. He's now a volunteer historian. He notified me probably 6 months before the job actually opened up, that looked like it was going to open up, and so started looking at it and talking to family and deciding whether I was going to try to come back or not. And so it ended up working out.
I always loved Bellingham. I had a great time here. I grew up in Western Washington. And I just kind of stopped by one day, hey, how's it going? And met Dr. Roulette, who's the percussion guy here now, the head of the percussion department. And then he was, at the time, head of the music department. And he said, yeah, you want to come up and do some drum set lessons? That we're expanding. So we have a percussionist and then drum set. And then at the time we also had an orchestral percussionist who talked more about symphony kind of work. And that was a really fun department, the three of us.
Got to that point at the end of college where it's okay, I know how this works for me now. I want to actually study the things I want to study in depth. So I went to grad school, and then very beautifully and conveniently, right as I was graduating, someone was leaving Fairhaven, and my mentor from when I was a student emailed me to be hey, you have a master's now, right? Do you want to come back and teach? And I was yes, that is exactly what I want to do. And I
think not to to limit yourself on a geographic location. You know, you never know where a job might take you. I grew up on a dairy farm in western Washington, just 20 miles here in the Nooksack Valley, and never thought that I would travel or leave, but then each time with an educational opportunity, it opened doors that I didn't know were there before. You may have an idea of what you think you want to do when you graduate, but I would say not limit your opportunities. I think there's great opportunities here to meet a lot of different people and experience different things, and then see what really excites you or interests you, and then go after it.
There's an idea that if you're lucky, you get to a next level, or you get an opportunity, or you get a big break, and a lot of people say, "Oh, you were lucky to get that." And really, the idea of luck is kind of bogus. I think if you prepared for the opportunity, then when the opportunity strikes, you're prepared. You're ready to take advantage. You're an expert on whatever subject that is. I used an example earlier with a student today about Count Basie. Count Basie's an old swing piano player, and if you know everything about Count Basie that you can, and Count Basie's orchestra comes to town, and the drummer, falls off the tour bus and breaks an ankle, and they call up and they say, "We need somebody to replace him," and you're ready, and you've spent a couple years studying Count Basie, then you're prepared, and then the opportunity knocks. Somebody on the outside might say, "Oh, you're really lucky that happened," but really it's that you prepared for the opportunity. So let's prepare for the opportunity. Be ready when opportunity does knock.
Something that my friend Sarah Jo, who teaches in the theater department, this is like her advice, which I am crediting to her and saying because she says it really well. What I know she tells a lot of her students, like, if you've never had a job before, start with a job that you don't care about, so you can get paid to learn how to do it and you don't have to do well. And that feels very right. And when I graduated, I'd been working throughout, since I was a teenager, but it had always been really specific to my field, so it was hard to apply to do something out of it, because even there were things that I knew I could do, but just if it wasn't on my resume, they didn't care about it. Before I'd ever officially used a cash register, people would be like, "Oh, but you're not trained on a register, so could you do this job?" And I'd be like, I'm a theater tech, I can program soundboards. I think I can use a cash register, but it until I got my first food service job, then when I started applying places, everyone would be like, "Oh, look, you're cash register trained, that's great." And it didn't really matter what I knew I could do, because it's not on there and they're getting a bunch of applications. I think things that help are just community. When you have that is really wonderful. The reason I have the place I live in right now is because I had to move really fast and it was really hectic and I really needed to find an apartment. And a friend of a friend was like, "Oh, I know someone moving out," and that's how we got that connection. So I think it helps to reach out to people, and if you don't know people, be involved with people that you connect with, so you can find those places where you could fit.
I think Western gives a great base of knowledge in a lot of things. The liberal arts education gets you exposed to a lot of different areas that you may not have interest in, but at least you have a background a little bit, enough to be dangerous, and so I think that all helps prepare you for whatever's next on your horizon. So good luck.